A report of a UFO sighting from a police officer is often considered highly credible.
London just received a call from Highland PD, reference to a truck driver just stopped in and said there was a flying object in the area of Lebanon.
It's a joke, right?
No, this is not a joke.
10-4 now.
In this case, in southern Illinois, the UFO was seen by 5 police officers.
Be advised, there's a very bright white light east of town, and it keeps changing colors. It's heading westbound now. Matter of fact, if the shadow officer looks up, they can probably see it by now. 2550, I see something, but I don't know what that is.
I happened to look over and saw this large floating object that was just moving very slowly. It was probably about a football field in length. It had 3 large bright lights lighting up the sky underneath it.
I was driving eastbound on Highway 50 when I see the object, the UFO, if you will. I first thought it was probably a bunch of helicopters flying in some type of formation.
It was unlike anything I have ever seen before. You could see the lights, and you could see something that they were attached to, and it was shaped like a triangle.
I'm freaking out. I'm like, what the heck is this? I duck into the left turn lane here, and I stop right about here.
I wanted to listen to see if I could hear any type of engine noise. I could not hear anything. I tried to look again at the UFO, and it had already gone behind these trees.
I put it in reverse to back up a couple seconds to see if I could reacquire it again. By the time I backed up and tried to see it, it had moved at least a mile away, if not further. That quick. I was just astonished. I didn't know what to say. I was speechless.
Police officers, pilots, people from every walk of life, seeing lights and objects no one can identify, maneuvering in ways that no one can explain. Experiences that can make even the most skeptical person consider the possibility.
It very well could be an alien ship. I don't know. I guess that's why they call them unidentified objects. I don't know. I do know that it wasn't a plane that I've ever seen before.
With NASA's most recent discovery of water on Mars, scientists believe they are the closest yet to discovering the first concrete proof of life beyond Earth, and confirming what they have long believed, that the universe is in fact rich with life.
There's more than 100 billion stars in our Milky Way galaxy alone. And there's more than 50 or 100 billion galaxies in the universe. You multiply these two numbers, that's a 1 with 21 zeros worth of stars in the cosmos. To suggest that we're alone is inexcusably egocentric.
Somewhere among the billions of stars in our galaxy, or in the billions of other galaxies in the vastness of space, most scientists believe there must be other planets like Earth, where other intelligent life exists, where another developed civilization could be trying to reach us. Dr. Frank Drake has been listening for them for almost 50 years. In 1960, in Green Bank, West Virginia, he first pointed his radio telescope at a nearby star to listen for a signal.
We just had this feeling that something very important was starting, that this was a new road that human beings were taking that was going to lead to very wonderful places and very wonderful things for our civilization.
Dr. Drake's experiment marked the beginning of a project called SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Today, Dr. Seth Shostak works with Dr. Drake at the SETI Institute.
We've been broadcasting our existence to the universe for the last 50 or 60 years, and we've been doing that with our high-powered radio and television transmissions. Every day, those signals just go right on out into space. That's how we're broadcasting into space, and we kind of turn that idea around when we try and find the extraterrestrials by trying to find their broadcasts.
In the movie Contact, Jodie Foster plays a SETI researcher who finds a signal. Foster's character was based on the work of Dr. Jill Tarter.
The chances of success in SETI are difficult to estimate. But if we never search, the chance is 0. So I think what we ought to do is search.
At Hat Creek in Northern California, SETI is building a vast array of telescopes with money from Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen. they have already begun to search for alien signals on a scale never attempted before.
This observatory is sited in a very quiet pastoral valley, mostly cows and a few people. It's going to change a whole lot when we put 350 telescopes in here, and it's going to change even more if indeed those telescopes detect a signal from someone else's technology.
Of course, we don't know how many civilizations out there might be broadcasting signals that we could pick up. The faster that you can go through all that heavenly real estate, the sooner you're going to find a signal. And if that happens, this is where it will happen. It'll happen right here. This is kind of the portal to the cosmos. This is the place where we're going to crack the crystal of isolation that has surrounded this planet for 4.5 billion years. Right here amongst the trees and the lava and the bright sunshine.
And drink a little champagne along the way.
But some ufologists ask why these researchers are searching for a signal from space when the aliens have already been here.
If I thought that extraterrestrials were really visiting the Earth, I wouldn't be doing this. None of us would be. Why would we go to all the trouble of building this very complex equipment and these expensive antenna arrays and so forth and so on if they were here?
It's just not proven that any UFO is a spacecraft from another intelligent species.
If we claim something, there will be data to back it up.
Doggone it, we're going to tell you it's up there at these coordinates in the sky. It's at this spot on the dial at this frequency, so take out your own antenna and go out and verify it. We would encourage you to verify it.
Right ascension, 18 hours, 36 minutes, 56.2 seconds.
That's the difference between science and myth-making.
Throughout the course of the evening, you've heard from dozens of Americans who say they have seen UFOs, something otherworldly in the skies, some perhaps more convincing than others. But you have yet to hear from this group, 4 retired members of the United States Air Force, once trusted to secure and fly nuclear missiles. 4 men who to this day stand by what they saw in the skies one October night. During the Cold War across much of the northern United States, the Air Force kept ballistic missiles and B-52 bombers on constant alert. On the night of October 24th, 1968, at Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota, Airman First Class Mike O'Connor was on his way to make a routine repair at one of those missile sites.
We made our turn to come down the road to the missile site, and out of the corner of my eye, I observed what I thought was a farmer's yard light, but it looked awful bright. As we proceeded down the road, the object appeared to lift off the ground and parallel us down the road until we came to the missile site, at which point we got out of the truck and it just kind of hovered there.
Staff Sergeant Bill Smith was in charge of security for 10 nuclear missiles. He saw something that night too.
These objects would rise, they would speed up, they would slow it down, they would hover, they would dart very quickly one way or the other. We were just not really sure that these were things that we could explain.
The Minot control tower diverted a B-52 to investigate. Captain Brad Runyon was the B-52's co-pilot.
The air traffic controller asked us if we would mind going out to this one area and looking for something. I was curious, and I said, well, what are we looking for? And they said, well, you'll know it if you find it.
The navigator on the B-52, Captain Patrick McCaslin, suddenly identified an object on his radar screen.
I saw a return, faint one sweep, bright the next, large, off our right wing, 3 o'clock, at about 3 miles. And at that point, I asked the radar navigator to turn on the camera, which would then take pictures of whatever was on the radar screen.
These pictures of the radar screen show that object flying in formation with the B-52.
This thing was climbing out with us and maintaining the same heading we were. That was unusual. But what really watered my eyes when this thing backed away and allowed us to turn inside of it.
When the object suddenly disappeared from the radar, the bomber was told to turn back to find it, and co-pilot Runyon was the first to spot what appeared to be a glowing craft hovering near the ground.
When things like that are happening, it seems like time just stands still. My estimate, overall object was a minimum of 200 feet in diameter. and it was hundreds of feet long. It had a metallic cylinder attached to another section that was shaped like a crescent moon. I felt that this crescent moon part was probably the command center. I tried to look inside the thing, but all I could see was a yellow glow. At that point, I was fairly sure that I was looking at an alien spaceship, something that had come here from some other planet other than Earth.
When the B-52 returned to base, the crew was quick to report what they had seen. But it would turn out they were not alone. 16 witnesses on the ground would also tell Air Force investigators that they too saw a UFO that night. Still, in the final report, the Air Force concluded that all of them were just seeing stars.
None of those pilots saw a star. I know those pilots. I know what their training was, and they were not looking at a star. I don't think this incident has ever been adequately explained.
Today, most UFO sightings are not officially investigated. The government and mainstream scientists have dismissed them. But physicist Michio Kaku warns against that.
You simply cannot dismiss the possibility that some of these UFO sightings are actually sightings from some object created by an advanced civilization. A civilization far out in space, a civilization perhaps millions of years ahead of us in technology. You simply cannot discount that possibility.
It was a UFO, for sure.
It's etched into my brain till the day I die, I guarantee you.
I mean, it is like it just happened yesterday.
I believe that the object that I saw was extraterrestrial.
And where it came from, when it came from, we do not know. I wish we did.
When you look at this handful of cases that cannot be easily dismissed, this is worthy of scientific investigation. Maybe there's nothing there. However, on that off chance that there is something there, that could literally change the course of human history. So I say, let this investigation begin.
The millions of believers are waiting because for them, seeing is believing. And that is our broadcast for tonight. From all of us here at Primetime and ABC News, I'm David Muir. Good night.
I just believe we're not the only ones in the universe.
I'm Dave Finley from the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, and welcome to the Very Large Array.
It's great to be here. What a backdrop.
Why did you come here to the Very Large Array to do this program?
Well, we're doing an hour and a half on the ongoing investigation into UFOs and whether or not they really exist. We did this 4 years ago, and there was extraordinary interest in the broadcast. And we know that just from history, the movies, E.T., Independence Day, which used a still of your lab here, and then Contact with Jodie Foster was actually shot here. I saw some of the still photographs in your center here, that we thought this would be an amazing backdrop to let people know that in the middle of the desert here in New Mexico, you're all hard at work, whether people at home believe these stories or not.
And how does a research facility like the Very Large Array fit into the storyline of your program?
Well, we know that these giant telescopes, this one right behind us, which dwarf us in size, are actually working 24 hours a day, around the clock. And the work that you do to study the size, the scope, the shape of these planets and stars is all part of the fascination with this otherworldly existence that could be. And we also are revisiting this with the new information from NASA just this summer, the discovery of water on Mars, which, as you know, as a scientist, answers or helps to answer that age-old question, is there life out there? We know now that there is indeed water, which you need for life.
And of course, our telescopes, radio telescopes, are very good at studying star and planet formation, how all this gets started. And our radio telescopes can also discover molecules in space that might be precursors to life. So this all fits into your overall theme, of life in the universe.
Which is precisely why you're here. So when you make the big discovery, you've got to call ABC first.
That's right, we'll do that. And how does it feel after seeing all the pictures of the very large array to actually be here in the real thing?
I think people will have no idea how big these are until they actually see the broadcast. I mean, you've seen the movie Contact and you've seen still photos, but until you see us standing here, the crew, myself, the producers, and how we interact with these massive telescopes out here in the middle of the desert, I don't think anyone has any idea just how enormous they are. As we were standing there shooting some of the program, they begin to turn and they make that enormous noise in the middle of this darkened night. So it's really fascinating to see firsthand.
Well, it's good to have you here, and folks can come here and visit our visitor center, too.
I hope they do. Thanks for having us.
coming.
Okay, be well.